end of the entire, both the segments of the World Architecture Day. And before the felicitations, final felicitations and group photos, we'll be doing the Q&A if any. But after the presentation, we move on to the next segment. Over to Isha.
So Mahesh just briefly spoken about Chetan sir. I take this opportunity to formally introduce our speaker. Chetan Raikar is the Chairman and Managing Director of Structural Designers and Consultants Private Limited, a construction consultancy of 57 years of glorious standing, apart from being on the panel of many international and national forums and institutions. Being a structural engineer, his true passion also lies in conservation of heritage structures. He has worked on some significant conservation projects in the country, such as Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Terminus, Mumbai, previously known as Victoria Terminus or VT, Taj Mahal Palace, Mumbai, Gateway of India, Rajwada of Indore, and Mani Mandir, that now stands as a living evidence of his passionate involvement. Without taking any further time, I request Chetan sir to please come up on stage and commence his presentation.
Namaskar, everyone. It's my honor to be invited here and an opportunity to speak on behalf of all of you. Because sometimes I get nervous to see the brilliant people sitting on the first row, second row, and in the last row. The youngsters they can be nasty because they can ask you difficult questions, and seniors know क्या बकवास कर रहा है. So in either cases, you are kind of nervous, and so am I. I was told that more on case studies on conservation, because personally, I am a structural engineer with a post-graduation in conservation of heritage structures from Heriot University, Edinburgh. So I am probably the only structural engineer who has this off-track kind of a post-graduation, because that genuinely was my passion. Can I see the next slide, please? Or bear this with me, one second. After having been in the profession of conservation, I feel conservation is nothing but building repairs with the following provisos. To maintain the structure as its present level of damage, to repair the structure for the existing damage, to retrofit the structure from earthquake cyclone point of view, because some of the structures have not been constructed for earthquake resistance as per the current norms, so you can retrofit them. Some structures have not been designed for the cyclone, the corrosion levels, fire, and so many other calamities that can happen to a structure. To partially reconstruct the structure where it's already collapsed. To clean and highlight all the important features of the structure. When I use the word repairs, I use it with a lot of thought. Conservation is a profession where predominantly there are architects. I would request the structural engineers sitting here to get into the profession of conservation, because they are scared. They say, conservation is an architectural profession. No, it's not. It's repairs, friends. Architects don't do repairs. Am I being controversial? No. This is my experience of 38 years that I am talking with. I have not blundered in any conservation structure despite being a structural engineer? Well, when you are not changing the elevation, when you are not changing any planning, the scope of architecture remains a bit limited in conservation projects. Clients do appoint, architects are experts, I'm not saying that they are not, but what happens is, unfortunately, they go for the L1 in structural engineering who doesn't have a clue of what a load-bearing structure is. And that's where the agony of the structure starts. The architect says, structurally, tumi repair kara, and the structural engineer does not have a clue. I'll be covering a couple of case studies which have been spoiled in last few years. So my request to architect is, when you are appointing a structural consultant, appoint the best, the costliest, and one who has the experience of load-bearing structures, working with building materials. A month back, I was called to deliver a lecture in a very big organization. The name is not important, and I was asked to talk to postgraduate students who are doing conservation, architecture, of course, all of them, and the faculty. So I asked them a single question: what is petrography? It's the same kind of silence it was there. Here the silence is fine, because most of you are not into conservation. But then everyone there is into conservation. Petrography is a subject of doing microscopic analysis of stones. Then my next question was, do they teach you geology? Again a silence. When you are not teaching geology in architecture and in postgraduate subject of conservation, how do you expect architects to be experts? My request to the faculty of architecture and those who are teaching, please start the subject of geology. They don't understand anything of stones and they spoil the structures. It's not a competition, because my team is of more than 350 people. We have got 30-40 architects, same number of structural engineers, mechanical, electrical. So no, and I won't say I'm at the fag end of the career, and no, nothing of that sort. I'm still very active, still very competitive. I fight with architects, get the projects. Just last week I got a project in Kolhapur after fighting with 6 architects. It's not architects versus engineers. No, never. We are at par. Please don't consider structural engineers as subservient. Please don't. I'm not being harsh, please. It comes from here, it hurts. This is the first job I did in 1999. I didn't know what is conservation then. And when I saw this structure, I said, wow, it's such a beautiful structure. I didn't know ABC of conservation. I was not a postgraduate also. Then this is Standard Chartered Bank building in Mumbai. I restored the whole structure. I didn't know how to restore, how to repair, how to do conservation. And Standard Chartered people wanted to publicize their effort. So they spent a few thousands in those days, or maybe lakhs, and got a few media. And suddenly I shot into fame. Chetan Raikar doing this. I was clueless about what I had done, and I didn't know anything 30 years back. But that's where I learned that I have a passion, and without knowing anything, if I'm not making mistakes, I must do my post-graduation also. And another reason of post-graduation I'll tell a little later. This electrification was also designed by me. Nowadays there are expert electrical designers, this, that, blah, blah, blah. I didn't know here and there. Even today I don't understand anything of electrification, external illumination and things like that. But if you can use your sense of aesthetics and little common sense, you can design external electrification also. You don't need experts. Now you must have the software to show to the clients, Acha, chikna chupra photos dikhane ke liye you need those software, but that's that. It's not very expensive software. Then in the year 2000, I got VT station, CSMT, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Terminus. That was out of competition. They had floated and I got a job. And I restored the roof of the structure and gave them a vocal guarantee of 25 years. And friends, I can proudly say that the structure still does not leak. It is the 24th year. The drawings which I had, the cross sections which I had developed for a sloping roof are copied by the entire community in Mumbai. But I'm very happy about it. There's nothing wrong. But if the structure does not leak, structure aapko dua deta and you grow. That is what is my thought process. This was, no professional should get a job for this reason, terrorism, no. And it's something very, very sad anywhere in the world what's happening. But if someone must restore, why not me? This is Bell Tower Suite. It was completely burned down, and this is during restoration, and you can get the photos of completed project. Here, what you see here is a Burmatic. Burmatic we generally have in 1.5 inch by 2 inch, 1.25 inch by 1.25 inch and things like that. This is 1 foot by 2 feet Burmatic. So it's a worth of gold. What I can say about the Tata Group is major portion of this is above the false ceiling. So I went to that project director that time and I said, boss, 60-70% of it is above the false ceiling. So why not we use Ghana-teak or CP teak is half the price? Because what was used earlier, I said, is Burma-teak original. So he says, we must use Burma-teak because we will be announcing that we have restored it to its past glory or lost glory. That's integrity, friends. And it's fortunate to get customers like that. It's a great pleasure to work with customers. Some customers I know, big industrial group, they would have said, "Acha, aisa hai kya? To concrete mein dal do na fir." Still cheaper. Why was even good? Because it's above the false ceiling. You get customers like that also. But the next, here I am covering about 11 case studies, not any specific case study. I am not. This is a palace 120 years old in Morvi. This is how it was when I got it. Completely, I am going back. See this crown stone? It has come down by about 8 inches. And there were about 500 crown stones which has come down. 500. It's a 2 lakh square feet stone palace. 500 square feet of 500 numbers of crown stones. And what we did is using the jack of trucks, we pushed these crown stones back into their final position and put stainless steel pins across 2 or 3 stones. It works very well. This work I completed in 2014. Now I am starting additional work of some areas which we had not restored that time. But it has worked for 10 years, and Gujarat has suffered many earthquakes after that, in 2014 also. This is how it is. These are the photographs of before. This is how we got, and this is how when we left the site or the structure. You can see the crack in the structure. And this is where we tried and pulled the structure back also in some cases, and in some cases when it was possible, we pushed the structure back. And I wasn't sure whether it will work, but it worked. This is how it looks. Again, the same stupid Chetan Raikar, idhar-udhar light laga do yaar, वैसे golden sandstone, it looks amazing in the evening, and just put a little warm light, and it is stunning structure. If anyone is from Ahmedabad or Morbi, Rajkot, do this. Of course, these lights, they don't switch on nowadays, but the structure is stunning. The best structure, or the structure which I have fallen in love with, is this. Most structures I fall in love with, my hated structures, but this is by and large the best, probably the best. Ahilya Bai or Ahilya Devi Holder, she built this 250 years back, 7-story structure 250 years back. See, those days the people used to create, reconstruct. Is a huge difference. It's no original statement, ना? किधर भी use करेगा तो royalty मेरे को देने का. But that's the thing in vision. Have you seen the palace which was recently constructed in Mumbai 10 years back? There is a. I didn't say. Who likes it? The elevation of that palace that is there in Mumbai? No one, no? I will show you. I'm going ahead. Who doesn't like this? This is how they used to create. And you know something? When this structure was in this state, it remained in this state for 9 years. And the Maharani Sahib, the royal family, she was about 82, 83 then. Today she is 93. Yeah, about 82, 83. And she said, Chetan, can you do this structure? 10 years back, so confidence was ज़्यादा होता है ना. In your late 40s, so you feel like you can do anything in the world. I said, yes, ma'am, you will do it. So she then spoke to the Chief Minister, who is our Honorable Prime Minister today, and took the structure back on a lease of 20 years plus 20 years. Why I am saying this? A lady who is 83 takes the structure for 20 years plus 20 years, knowing fully well that she is not going to be there for the next 40 years, and spends about 20 crores from her own pocket with a condition from the government that this structure will not be used for any commercial activity, not even a rupee. That is the vision, and that is what helps us, the professionals, in. Now this is again a similar thing. This was burnt in the fire of 1984. 84 to 2004, there were 3 attempts of restoring Rajwada. Nothing happened probably. 2004, I got a call from, because by 2004, वो नाम Times of India में 2-4 बार आया था ना मेरा. VT station किया, उसका भी नाम आया. तो everyone thought I knew something. So suddenly I got a call from the collector of Indore that time, Mohammed Suleiman. Amazing officer. He said, I am collector of Indore speaking, Mohammed Suleiman. I said, yeah, मैंने इंदौर में क्या पंगा किया है? I've never been to Indore, so why would a collector call me? So then I said, yes sir. He says, this is the cost, and will you do this job? So I said, sir, let me have a look. Now, why was the structure waiting for 20 years? Because the Vastu Purush in the structure wanted Chetan Raikar to do it. These structures, they select you. The patient selects the doctor, friends. So if you do classic structures or the structures classically, then the next structure chooses you. It calls you. Otherwise, there was no reason. The person who has never been to Indore is called. Then Digvijay Singh was the CM. He said 10 minutes ka presentation. It went for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And CM asked for my business card. कोई CM card और मांगते क्या कभी हमसे? It treats us like ठीक है हो गया हाँ चलो आगे बढ़ो. That kind of, he sat there. He sanctioned the project in 1 minute immediately after the presentation. Structure pushes and structure decides. These are practical. This is how I got the structure. This structure has a combination of stone, steel. This structure gave me 2-3 awards, but the best award was when I was looking at the finished structure, standing here only from where the photo has been taken. Probably this photo has been taken by me only. There was a very old guy, that time. This is 20 years old project. That time about 80ish. So he said, looking like this. I said, Chacha, क्या देख रहे हैं? So he says, बेटा, मैं बचपन में मेरे पिताजी के साथ इधर आया था, लगभग वैसा ही हुआ है. And that's the award. That's the best award you can get for conservation. People shouldn't see what you have done. दिखना ही नहीं चाहिए. अभी एक चश्मा निकाल के अगर मैं लेंस लगा दूंगा, that's the beauty of medical profession. You don't see. but I can see the word. So one should not see what you have done in the structure. If someone says, "इसमें किया क्या है? 50 crore खर्चा कर दिया," and that's where you have. But the structure should last for 25 years, 50 years, 2 generations. The same structure you should not get in your profession, in your birth, for the same reasons. If you are doing that, then you have failed somewhere as a professional. This is how it looks currently. This structure everyone knows, Pune University. Now, I am going to talk something which a few may not like here. This was awarded to some architect, and in 1 year of conservation, 3 walls collapsed. And then that architect was removed from the job, we came in. Why would the walls collapse if you are there? Does it mean you don't understand when the structure will collapse and when it will? And if it is collapsing, why did you not project it or protect it? This is the problem I have with architects. Sorry, I think there is one escape route there also, I am told. So I can, after the lecture, I can rush. सब लोग एक टप्पी भी मारेंगे तो मर जाऊंगा मैं यार. But I am talking from the heart. We are architects and structural engineers are 2 parts of a coin. We can't be. This is how before and after. This is MCGM head office. This is the next job. Restored by an architect 5 years back. The very next year, it started leaking. MCGM took care, immediately दूसरे को कैसे अपॉइंट करेंगे, स्कैंडल हो जाएगा. 2-3 years they suffered, but Honorable Commissioner's antechamber also was leaking. His cabin started getting पानी की बौछार. So we were appointed 2 years back. Now we are again restoring that job. Now 18 crores were spent that time. Now we are again spending 10 or 11 crores. ये अपना पैसा जा रहा है ना? Why could it not have been done right the first time? My request is, please appoint a good structural engineer who is interested in the job, and please pay him well. You may say, "यार advertisement कर रहा है structural engineer," but it is a requirement, sir. Thank you. And this structure is a major challenge that I have today. Esplanade Mansion. It's a 5-story cast iron building, the only of its kind in the country and only 2 of its kind in the world. I was appointed by the High Court for the job. 2 other architects were also there, but मैं दुश्मन हूँ सबका. So the challenge here is, how do you repair a cast iron structure? A cast iron structure where the columns have cracked fully. You are not welding a patta or a fool on a fence or a gate of a cast iron. You are restoring a column which is taking 4 floors above, 3 floors above, or whatever. It's a big challenge. Restoration of cast iron. And you know, some other concern said, "Sir, Esplanade का काम मेरे को किया, हम लोग कर रहे हैं. We are about 1.5 years, 2 years in the project. Another couple of years, we will have completed." पागल है तो ऐसा क्या काम लिया? बोला, "Sir, it's a prestige." बोले, "तेरे को इसका रिपीट काम तो कभी भी नहीं मिलेगा, because ऐसा दूसरा स्ट्रक्चर है ही नहीं. We professionals earn in repeat jobs, because repeat job में क्या कट पेस्ट कॉपी तो करने का होता है. But somebody has that kind of a thought process also. He says, "Why are you taking job?" But this is a job which is real challenge. I am doing this job currently and very happy, because professional has hunger at 3 locations in the body: दिल, दिमाग और पेट. पेट की भूख के लिए तो भागना ही पड़ता है. You can't say client के tunes पे you have to dance, है ना? But दिल और दिमाग के लिए कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं. ताज after the terrorist attack was for the दिल. देश के लिए कर रहा हूँ कुछ, और ये दिमाग के लिए है. You know what we started doing is, see, these are, can you see the brackets which are fully cracked on which the beams are? This is how it is. So we have made complete 3D drawings. These are 4 feet cantilevers which are fully cracked. So ये क्यों खड़ा है मालूम नहीं. My science of structural engineering says it shouldn't stand, it should collapse, but it stands because structure also wants to live like we humans. It fights till the last nail stays. So we first welded and then load tested and failed miserably. Then we started doing a lot of R&D and we realized that welding does not help in structural cast iron. You have to only go for bolting. So now we are completely changing our strategy, doing bolts, getting a person for doing those, the lost columns, the lost beams, the lost elements of cast iron. Getting a foundry was difficult. And I didn't want international foundries surely because यार हम सबमरीन बनाते हैं ना इंडियंस, हम वो बाहर वालों से क्यों? But one member of 800 kg. See, there are cast iron foundries who make 3 tons, 5 tons, 6 tons of boat engine components, and some do 50 kg, 100 kg. So for 800 kg and this kind of a thing, no one was. Luckily, after about 6 months of search and interviews and this and that, we found 2 now. So we will be now fabricating the lost cast iron columns, the lost beams, and we need to have some cast iron members for developing the clamping system. Next is Bhavan and Temple. Here also, the challenge is the structure has swayed. If you can see, the columns have swayed. Then of course, people have done tiling, marble, everything to an archaeological structure. All that is very simple. This is a challenging stuff. So we would be taking up this challenge. And this is another very interesting textile mills in Mumbai. Now these structures have plants follow, trees follow, start from here and the root comes down right up to the ground level. This. Now what is heritage? Is the structure heritage or the tree also is a heritage structure? Is a part of heritage, isn't it? So if you say cut the tree and let the structure, yes, selfishness, this is only half of what is. These structures look classy and good with the trees. But if you don't do it, you are spoiling the structure. I think this should be the last slide, and I think I've already overshot 30 minutes. This also is another, this is an aqueduct. So it was supposed to take water from one lake to another lake. And this also has a similar challenge. Now, this is a defunct structure, there is no water, so it has to sustain its self-weight, that's all. But here we are talking of removing this thing because you don't relate. So these also are kind of challenges that we get in the profession. This is another view of the same thing. This is in Bhandup, Mumbai. That's all, my dear friends. I know I've been harsh. I've been challenging. Thank you very much. Lecture. I'm available after that for bombarding. Thank you very much.
Charitable sir, may I request you to please be on stage for a moment. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Yes, may I request our President Rajesh sir and our Trustee Jayant Inamdar sir to please come up on stage to felicitate the wonderful speaker for the day. He truly brought wonderful insights of conservation to a structural engineer's eye, and I'm sure with a wonderful presentation and a co-creation that he focused on, sir, for joining, and thank you, Chetan sir, for a wonderful presentation. Now may I request Mahesh again to come up on stage and introduce the fourth segment of this evening.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you, Chetan ji, for such an enlightening talk. Isha and we were discussing whether you were really against architects or whether you were trying to tell them or send them a message. I think the message is clear. We are co-creators and we should, like she said, we should co-curate and co-create as architects, engineers. And that is why we have this last segment of the evening where we have a flamboyant architect, Shabir Unwala, presenting here. Why an architect's presentation? Again, World Architecture Day, World Habitat Day, why not take up the occasion? I'm going to make a twist in the segment. I'm adding a sub-segment here for two reasons. Because we have engineer Suhas Lunkarji here from Rohan Builders, who's been a patron of AESA for, I think, as long as I can remember. But on this occasion, we want to confer upon him honorary life membership. Engineer Suhas Lunkarji from Rohan Builders, requesting you to come on stage and requesting our president, Rajiv Raze, to hand over the badge, the Pride AESA badge to Suhas sir. It's been long due. We've been discussing this. He's been patronizing AESA Young Achievers Awards and has always been open. And when I went to him right now and told him that I'm going to do something different here this evening, he said, do one more thing. Announce a sponsorship of 3 lakh rupees from my side for AESA, one more to start Rohan Builders AESA lecture series, which will have 6 lectures every year after. So, like I said, my insert is crazy, but he's crazier for AESA. I believe that's his love for AESA. Thank you so much for. I think it took not even 2 minutes to make that decision to announce. He told me just announce this, that I'm willing to sponsor and support. I will not use the word sponsor. Sponsor is a very commercial word. Support and patronize AESA's 6 lectures under the AESA lecture series. Thank you very much, Suhas Lunkarji from Rohan Builders. That's a very kind gesture from you, and this is the smallest that we could do for you from our side to offer you a life membership. Thank you so much. All right, thank you, Rajan sir. Thank you, Suhas sir. Inviting Isha to introduce our speaker for the day, for the World Architecture Day. Just a short note. It's World Architecture Day, World Habitat Day. There are several events happening in the city today. Right now, one of our very good friend, former EC member, is hosting another very good architect from Chandigarh on another forum. There's another event happening on the 3rd floor in this building, where one of our founder member is being felicitated on the occasion of World Architecture Day. So he conveyed to me saying, Badve sir, त्यांचा सत्कार आहे वर आता, तर बडवे सरांनी कळवलं की मी PYC मध्येच आहे, पण खाली येत नाहीये इव्हेंटला. The moment I am done, I'm going to come down. Don't worry, sir. Like I know, I'm very sure that once you're free, you are going to be here. So there are so many events. Yet there's a full house here. Says a lot about AESA. Thank you very much. Round of applause for all of you. We have 150 people in the auditorium, which was what we were minimum expecting anyway, and we have all of you here to join. And I'm sure for all this lecture series that we are going to curate and plan for this coming year, you all will participate in equal numbers. Thank you so much for the support. There is media, there are probable support partners and patrons also here. I am requesting you to wholeheartedly support AESA activities. We are doing a Diwali celebration event on 27th of October, Sunday, 10 a.m. At BNC Auditorium. We are also going to be recording and streaming it live. Most importantly, it's a musical program by Dr. Reva Nathu and her team. It's called Alankruta. We'll be launching the poster after this event, today's event today. But just letting you know that we want all of you there on 27th of October, Sunday morning. We know we all are late risers, so we will start a little late on that day, 10 a.m. On Sunday, 27th of October at BNCA, Karvenagar, at the auditorium where we will be hosting Dr. Revanath and team for a musical program. Over to Isha.
Thank you, Mahesh. The flamboyant next speaker, as Mahesh said, I'm so honored to give you a brief background. It's always better and so wonderful to know the background. Then I'm sure many of us must have seen his work, must have heard him at many platforms. So architect Shabbir graduated from Rachna Sansad College of Architecture, Mumbai. And after having worked for a couple of years in Mumbai, he moved to Lonavala for the love of the surroundings and different landscape that it offered. And in '88, after moving to Lonavala, he started assisting Nachiket and Jayu Patwardhan, wherein besides working on architectural design projects, he also assisted them in filmmaking, especially in art direction and set direction. And Bye Bye Blues, a Canadian movie, and Marathi movie, Limited Manaski, have been two of his remarkable works where he assisted them as assistant art director and assistant director. He started the design workshop in 1989 and since then has been chasing his chimera, as he says, wherein he looks for and be at the intersection of the subtle art of storytelling and the hardcore logic of structures. He refers to his last 38 years of profession to be filled with adventure and discovery, wherein he feels to have been fortunate to have worked on varied building typologies such as villas, resorts, five-star hotels, hospitals, museums, schools, training centers, public promenades, auditoriums, temples. The diversity has been truly remarkable. While working on above, he also developed a completely new typology of diet buildings or how to build on mountain slopes. Structures stand as interesting architectural explorations of pushing the boundaries between possible and impossible. With this brief background, may I request Architect Shabbir Ulwala to please take the stage and commence his presentation.
Good evening, friends, fellow architects, engineers, and surveyors. It's a pleasure to be here, more so because I've been always talking in front of students or architects, and first time I'm making a presentation in front of not only architects but engineers and surveyors. So it's really a pleasure. It's World Architecture Day. I thank AESA for inviting me over here, and especially Mahesh, who's been a dear friend of mine, and giving me an opportunity to talk about the journey. I look at it as an adventure because each building is getting into the unknown territory. You don't know what it is. It's exactly like an adventure. I also would like to thank people who have been with me for the last 32 years. Anil and Gauri has been kind of the backdrop of our organization, and I would like to thank my sons, both Mohammed and Kutub, who are with me. We know that architecture and structures are two sides of the coin, and I was quite surprised when writers said the same thing because we are the same side of the coin. Structure makes architect's dream possible. Examples abound. From the temples of Hampi, which was like in 1356, to Parthenon, to looking at the St. Charles Cathedral, to looking at the Sinan's Mosque in Turkey, to looking at modern architecture of Felix Kendall, or to the parametrics of, this is the last work of Zahadi at Rabat and Morocco. This evening I would like to share part of a design process where structure is both a generator of form and space. Forms are means to enclose space and structures are means to create forms. Structures, when used coherently, creates poetry. If architecture is a frozen music, as defined by Goethe, then structure is the notes. Structures are material specific, and material is site specific. It is this relationship between structure, space, and site that one seeks in architecture. So this evening, what I'm going to talk about, because we've been practicing architecture where we use structure extensively, as I said that if you dream, you need structure to fulfill your dreams. Without that, you can't achieve it. And we've been trying to create space using structure as a space-making device. So I'm going to talk about the structure journey where we did a load-bearing structures. And the first one that I'm going to talk about, so then the second one is the cantilever and tensile structures. And the third is technology-driven structures. With this, I'm going to talk about, this is the first one, which is a stone house. And quite a few members from here have visited this site with me, I think around 10 or 15 years back. I'm going to talk about Machan, which is part of the diet structures where we started these typology. In technology, what we have is unbuilt, but it's something which is extremely fun and you're going to enjoy what we have done over here. So it's a stone house that I'm going to talk about. This structure is in a way a tribute to Nari Gandhi, because Nari Gandhi's structure is a celebration of structure and material. And I was privileged to see a couple of his buildings coming up from ground up. So when I shifted to Lonavala in 88, sometimes in 89, we started making house for Usha Jain and for Rafiq Malik of Metro Shoes. And I would visit every week or 15 days whenever I would get time and see the whole process of it, you know. It was inspiring to see the walls and the arches coming up. I'd never seen anything like this before. It's, you know, it's like in 1996, Palasma wrote about Eye of the Skin, which is a seminal book on, he talks about what architecture should be all about. And this is a building this guy doing in 1988-89, where when you see the structure, I mean, whenever we walk into a house or a building, you feel like touching the wall, we don't. But here, when you go to Nari Gandhi's houses, you want to feel it. It's like the eye of the skin, you know, it just attracts you. And it's something that is unbelievable, you know. And I have seen some of the most beautiful architecture when I was backpacking in 1984 as a student. I went to America, I saw buildings of Mies, I've seen FLW, I've seen some of the most beautiful, I've seen Paolo Soleri, Arcosanti, but this was something completely different. So this house is more of a tribute to Nari Gandhi because I was completely inspired. You know, we've always been told that as an architect,
You got to listen to the land. And that's an art. That what does the land tell you? It gives you all the answers. But this, so in this case, the client, so this is my first house, and I'm talking about 1992. The client goes and buys the land. He doesn't buy it, he sees the land, and then he tells me, why don't you go and approve of the same? So I go to this piece of land, which is like around 4 kilometers from my place, and in those days it was complete wilderness. There was not even a proper road to go to that place. I see this land, which was kind of a mine. So the guy who was owning that land was removing all the soil and selling it, and what he was leaving behind was these huge boulders which he couldn't lift it and put in the truck. Now, imagine I opened my office in '89, and there's been nobody, and this guy comes and walks in and tells me, approve the land. I said, yes, approved. Let's get it out of the way. Because I was scared if I say, don't buy this land, he may never come back. So I said, okay, let's buy this land. So this is the land. Luckily, it was not I wouldn't client, because clients are, a relationship between call him a client, it's a transaction. You pay me this money, I do your work, and that's over. He's a patron, because patron is an aspirational relationship where the other person wants a work of art and architecture. In the olden days, what we had was the kings. They were the patrons. In a democracy, it's a very transactional relationship, and we are all caught up for it. So in our life, we are looking for patrons, and I was lucky enough to get him as a patron, and that gave me a lot of confidence, and gave me a lot of confidence to take risks, because what I had designed was an XP structure. And he said, do it. I'll share what are the things that we did over here. And I also believe that any creative art will take risk without trying to push the envelope. We are not doing just because how does human knowledge increase? I mean, imagine if Parthenon was not built. Parthenon 25 BC, they made a concrete structure. Unbelievable. That thing is still standing. And you look at Sinan's mosque, my God. Look at the Gothic churches with those beautiful flying buttresses. These were the people, because we humans have that thing in us to push the envelope. And that's how we increase the human knowledge. So this is the first one that I did. And I use, so the obvious reason was, what is my building material? And the building material, I said, we use the stones. And he said, fantastic. And as Louis Kahn famously said, I asked the brick what it wanted to be. And it said it wanted to be an arch. So for me, it was what the stone wanted, and it wanted to be an arch. So it's a load-bearing structure with stone arches. I'll just show you the schematics of it. So this is the land that, it's still like this, because it's like a 3 acres of land, and he just built it on part of the land. This was like a moonscape. Completely like, yeah. House. Now, one thing that when I was doing this house, I realized that materials There are two kinds of materials. One is what we call analogous. So stones, bricks are digital mode. Concrete is analogous. When you say analogous, it flows, concrete flows. So when I was using stone, I realized that it's a digital mode. And what's the nature of the material? Because as an architect, you want to take a material and take it to its logical conclusion. You push the material, what it can do, and let it do what it is best in doing it. So this is a house that is, and it's a very raw building in the terms of the materiality, but it's very sophisticated. As I said, that when I visited the FLW's structures as a student, one of the things that inspired me was about organic architecture. And this one, so there are 12 principles of organic architecture as enumerated by FLW. It's about how it sits on the site, how you use the material, the cooling, so all these things. So it's quite sophisticated in terms of the philosophy behind it. I was always fascinated because, when we enter anything, the doors are very two-dimensional. You go from one plane to the volume. So I was looking at what happens when two planes meet and you enter through the plane. And we designed this door. And this is something that I wanted to share about this is, when I was doing this thing, I decided that, architecture is like a six blind men with an elephant. If you talk to an architect about architecture, he has a complete different definition. If you talk to a structural engineer, he has a completely different definition. If you talk to a contractor, he has a different definition. If you talk to a landscape architect, he has so you're talking about the same elephant, but everybody is saying something different. So I said, let me understand this beast called architecture. So I have a 360 degrees about it. So I not only was an architect, I also became a contractor. And I did the structure for it. From 92 to around 2002, I would design my own structures because I wanted to, and I was acting also as a contractor, and I would do the landscaping and I would do interiors also. So this building was my first attempt at it. And why I said he was a patron, because who trusts somebody who has never built anything in his life and allows him to do all these things? So yeah, so this is a very interesting door. It's where the two planes meet. This is a view from inside. Now these are all huge segmental arches, and these are true arches, because when I was visiting Gandhi's structures, I would see how you would make those arches, and I wanted to see if I can do it myself. So while doing this, you will see over here, there's an arch that goes and rests on another arch. Okay? Now, how do you do this? I was completely foxed. So I spoke to a friend who happens to be a structural engineer from IIT Bombay, and he said, don't do it. He said, put a column on two sides of that smaller arches, put a beam, and then you put it over there. I said, that's cheating, So one is trying to be pure in life and say, and when you're young, you're more purer. And I said, he says, not possible. So I spoke to my mason, and I said, his name is Basappa. And that's another thing, beauty about India is we have such talented people who really know how to work with their hands. So he said, Saab aise karte hai. I said, so now I'm doing something extremely risky. So I told my client, I said, I want to do this. He says, what's the downside? Koi mar to jayega nahi na? I said, there's nobody dying. When I remove the scaffolding of brick, the whole thing may collapse. So he says, okay, do it. And it's still standing. So when I take people and I take them and make them stand underneath that arch, and I say the arch is incomplete without you, because it comes right at you like that. This is the living room. There's a fireplace. Now these are the segmental arches. As Mr. Riker will tell you that segmental arches are the most, you can't calculate how the forces are getting transferred. And these are 22 feet arches. So what we did was, I had to make the flying buttresses. So what it has is, beyond it is the flying buttresses which supports this arch. And these are all true arches. Each stone is weighing like 15 to 20 kilos. Massive one. Then we did something wrong with the as I said, that stone is digital. Now this is the kind of thing that you can do with stone. You know, you see the stone, it's carved in an obtuse angle. Otherwise, you can't do this in brick. You can do it in concrete, but as a digital mode. And these are the little nuances of material that you enjoy to explore it, you know. Also here what we did was, we did flat arches. So all the windows, not the big ones, but the smaller ones, they're all stone arches, flat arches. We broke all the rules. So you can see that there is no tiling, there's only a flooring, and then I put a granite and put a piping behind it. We did the furniture, as I said, and one of the things that most of us like to read before we go to sleep, you know, and I have an habit. So I said, okay, let me design a bed. So this bed, you can see this handle. If you turn it around, it becomes flat. But if you open it and you put a pillow, it's ergonomically designed. So you can, otherwise you have to put a couple of pillows and try to be comfortable. So these are the things that you do, and then you see these beautiful hinges made out of wood. It's completely made out of wood, you know, this thing is coming out. So as I said, that your respect for people with talent increases tremendously when you actually work with, you know, masons and the carpenters, and the amount of talent that's there is unbelievable. So this is the kitchen. So this is the stone house that we did in '92. The next one that I'm going to talk about is again having arches. So these are the people who worked on the project. And this is in Chennai, on ECR road, very close to the sea. Here what we did was, it's the whole design is derived from a cube, the proportions of a cube, and it's an exposed brickwork house. Here what we have done is there's a central courtyard, and within the courtyard we use arches, parabolic arches, as a space-making device. So you can see this plan. It's like, this is central courtyard, and like a traditional house, all the rooms directly open into the courtyard. That's a section, it has a basement because it's right close to the sea. So we had to raise the house by at least 8 feet because otherwise in the rains, the whole basement gets flooded. Yeah, so these are the parabolic arches. It's almost like Antonio Gaudi, you know, those beautiful arches. On the side, we have these brick arches, semicircular. So this is you enter the central courtyard, and then you get inside. Again, what we have done is to protect it from the south heat, we have given verandas. So then access, again, all the designs is with a passive cooling. We give all the rooms at least minimum 2 sides, which is opening outside, so you can have a cross ventilation. So this is the inside of it. You enter into this courtyard, and the courtyard is designed in a way like a church that it takes your eyes towards the heaven. Because courtyards are meant to have a sky connection. You have all the courtyards. Is imagine all the courtyards are your piece of sky, because you always see only that much of a piece of sky. It's like it's your personal sky. So that's the beauty about courtyards, that you get your own sky, because when you come out, it's everything, but it's like a window. So it's like a window to the heavens. So I enjoy having courtyards, and we try to have courtyards in all the houses. Sometimes it helps in terms of cross ventilation, sometimes it's a decorative courtyard, but they all open up to the heavens. So this is the view from, and those are the semicircular arches. So it's a very complex geometry, because what you see in the plan becomes in the section. So you see you have an ellipse at the bottom, you take half the ellipse, that becomes the section of the skyline. Next. So now this is where the ellipse comes and meets. So it's a very interesting thing. So left hand side is a temple, and the right side takes you up to the bedroom wing, and then this is a courtyard that takes you into the garden. This is kind of a Gaudi meets Frank Lloyd Wright. So the interiors are extremely Wrightian. So we would in the office call it a Wright house. So the story is that, and the title of the house would be Proposed Wright House in Chennai. So Ravi was a friend. He said, "Who's Wright?" I said, he said, "But my name should be there, right?" Because it's inspired by, it's a tribute to Frank Lloyd Wright. And you won't believe, next time when I visit Chennai, he shows me a complete work of Frank Lloyd Wright. He's a banker. So his MD, when he was visiting Chennai, he gifted him Frank Lloyd Wright book of his complete work. What do you say to that? I mean, the banker got nothing to do with FLW. This guy got nothing to do, and he gets a book of FLW, and he says, "Look at this." I thought he had bought it. He says, "No, Mr. Kapoor gave this to me." I said, "Wow, this is new." Okay, the third one is actually, without my knowing, in 2016, the contractor who worked on this, he applied to AESA for an award because there's an award for the structures, and Jadhav was a contractor, because that's a very interesting one. It's a resort and we needed to tuck in one more room, and it's overlooking Pune. It's a fantastic site. It's bank opposite. It's Tikona is right behind and Tungi is in front of you. So we said we've designed this room, and they call it a cocoon. It's a ferrocrete structure, and so I'll show you a small slide. It's a parabola in plan, and in a section it's a parabola. So parabola is extremely strong, paraboloids. So this is a paraboloid, and it's just 3 inches thick. So I'll show you a little film of the strength of the structure. How the shells work, because this is a shell. So imagine the strength of a shell, because this is like 3 inches. It's like 14 books. And you reach up. Yeah, so this is the structure. The whole thing is underground. Only this side is opening into the lake side. So this is going to be underground. And he designed the whole built-in furniture also. This is the making of it. And you can see Tikona behind me. So we had these little skylights into the structure, because it was only opening on one side. So skylights, we gave 2 or 3 places, and also made it in a way that the hot air can rise up. This is completed. And that's a view of the lake to me. Now, this is the Machan, which we did in 2007. Machan was the only building selected by CNN in 2007 for out of 23 structures for the sustainable future. And so it was quite nice to see that, because this was the only one from India, and they're taken from all over the world. This is what I started calling as a diet building. So there's a film on Sir Foster where he takes Sir Buckminster Fuller to one of the buildings that he has designed, and after the visit, Sir Buckminster Fuller asked Norman Foster, how much does your building weigh? And Norman Foster was completely foxed. He said he had not calculated it. So this is, I said, so let's call our building a diet building, and also keep a tab of how much it actually weighs. So we really know, okay, if it was a traditional RCC building, vis-a-vis if you do this kind of a structure, what it is. Because when you're building on a mountain, you have a challenge of, in case of an earthquake, the whole structure can come down. So the lighter it is, like how the Japanese make their houses, and so make it as lightweight as possible. So getting back to this, so this is like in 2007, Mr. Huja, again, it's a confluence of a perfect site and a perfect client. And when that thing happens, magic happens. But also, you got to be ready for it. You know, you all your life you wait for a perfect client and a perfect site to do the right thing to create a magic, and this happened. So Mr. Huja, he had this 25 acres of it's a rainforest, and he had been nurturing it for 17 years when I met him. It was completely dense, and he wanted me to make a simple structure on a flat ground. And I said, sir, you can't do that. You have such a beautiful forest. So he says, what do you have in mind? I said, why don't you make a tree house? He says, give me a week to think about. After a week, he gives me a call. He says, I'm okay to make a tree house. So go and visit this. There's an umber tree over there. I made a bamboo platform over there, which is a machan. Go and have a look at it. If you like the site, then design something for me. But he said, there's a one condition. I do not want you to cut a single branch. And I said, fantastic. Because, you look at nature, it's God's painting. Now, if I were to buy a Picasso or a Hussein, and would I destroy that painting? I would not. I paid millions of rupees for something which I consider beautiful, but when you look at God's painting, and we don't care a shit about it. We get a JCB and we cut trees and we dig ground. And here was a person who says, I don't want you to cut a branch also. And I said, super. So the whole design is based on that we do not cut a branch. And this tree happened to be on a, okay. I'll just talk about so you can see this slope. And this is a tree. This point is 40 feet below. So we have a ramp that goes over here. Next. So the white fig tree. And what we call now is a biomimicry. You mimic nature. If you look at the tree, it's an inverted pyramid. So the house is also designed as an inverted pyramid. So just hold on. So this is the plan, this is your ramp. So you come from here, you come into this veranda, you walk. The whole idea is when you walk, you want the whole, it's a fantastic, very big mountain on the other side. So I'm walking, and this is a wild fig tree. We can see in the drawing, the branch comes inside the house. And so the section. And then this goes up to form what we call as a crow's nest. 72 feet from the ground. And this room is a hanging room. So it is not supported by anything, it is suspended from the main floor. So this material is steel, glass and wood, all. We did not use any other material. This goes slow. So all the flooring is wood. There's no concrete, there's nothing. Next. This is a guy. So I'll tell you the story. So, okay, this side has no electricity. They were generating their own power. So we had this house fabricated in Pune in a workshop, assembled in Pune, disassembled and taken to the site. I didn't know what I was getting into. This is the first time I'm doing something like this. The client didn't know what he was getting into. So all the material comes to the site. Okay? And millions of pieces. You don't know which piece fits where. And this man was a guy who had done it in Pune and who was supposed to reassemble it. Now, I was worried that if this guy walks out because he feels it's too much, he could easily run away. I would have like 30 tons of steel and nobody would know what to do. We would have to sell it as a scrap. Every day in the morning, 7:30, I would go there religiously, meet him at 8 in the morning, see if he's there, because all this material, if you realize, there is no crane, there's nothing. The steel was 100 feet away. Manually, they had to lift it. They had to take it down 40 feet. There was no ramp also. They had to take it down 40 feet down and through a prehistoric, there's a pole with a pulley and 3 people tied and they pull it up over there. This is the way the house was built. And I say without this guy, Machan was not possible. So it was a terrific amount of challenge, not only, so it's something that you realize that it's easy to dream, but then to execute it on ground is a different ball game. So completed Machan. So that's your factory. That answers the courtyard. That's your hanging room. This is suspended from the top. That's your ramp. So what we did is, if you see the last bit, it's like the London Bridge. You can close it. So in the night, you just pull it up and you close it. That should be a one, yeah. So it's closed. So you can see this little pulley. So we use a lot of recycled material from the ship. So this is what they call as a ship decking. Because ship is made out of steel. So all the deck that you have is made out of these kind of wooden, so the water can drain out and this thing. So these are all recycled, including all the wood that is there is recycled. And also the steel, we did not buy the virgin steel. We bought the recycled steel. All the lights are from the ship. All these lights are from the ship. You can see this branch getting inside. Even this light is from the ship. Staircase going down. That's what we call as a hanging balcony. So this is a bedroom. These stones are very interesting. These are fossil stones. So these are the stones which are the imprints of leaves, plants, animals. It's beautiful, you know. So this is Shabad. So then in the mines suddenly you find these kind of stones and they sell it for a premium. Now this is the room on the top, which pours through the roof. That's the location. I'll show you the making of